So in this video, I'm going to take you behind the scenes of a POV photo shoot in Bangkok Chinatown. I'm going to shoot some neon lights with a Promist filter during the night using my Sony a7s3 and the 55mm f1.8 lens, my favorite setup. So anyway, I actually got a lot of questions about Promist filters, whether I use them in my photos. And to be honest, I actually didn't used to use them that much in the past. I simply shot actual mist, which I still think is preferable to Promist filters. But of course, finding actual mist is kind of difficult. So a Promist is kind of a compromise, although it's not exactly the same effect. Promist simply makes the highlights kind of glow more and gives this kind of a dreamy or softer look. So recently I got this 1/4 of a Promist from Tiffin, not sponsored or anything. I used to have a random branded one from Japan. I don't even know what it's called. I used it a couple years back, but then I honestly forgot that I had it, so I never used it for a couple years. And also I think at that time the effect was a bit too strong. I think 1/4 is about right, or 1/8 even. I wouldn't go crazy with like half. And anyway, Bangkok is still under lockdown controls. Only essential businesses can open at the moment, and there's a curfew. So I went to Chinatown because I figured they'll at least have some food stalls and at least some people to photograph. But it was still very quiet, and I was hoping the neon lights would still be on, which luckily they were, because the effects with the Promist have some potential that I wanted to try out. Anyway, enough of an intro, I guess. So let's just get to the main part of the video. I've cut it down to about 10 minutes and narrated it. So let's get to it. So I was expecting this to be a rainy shoot, but the rain stopped right when I got to Chinatown, and I started shooting anyway, but unfortunately I recorded with the wrong setting. I did like a time-lapse recording of the first 15 or so minutes. I'm just gonna show you the highlights of those shots here. I actually take a lot of photos of cats, but I usually never end up showing them. I just like cats. Now we get to the beginning of the shoot. I spot this cool neon lit restaurant, and I waited about 10 minutes for a person with umbrella to pass the sign, and I got these shots, which I quite like. You can see the Promist is adding a little bit of a glow into the photos as well. Then we teleport a couple minutes away, and I get this couple with a really nice background. And in these initial shots, the Promist is really working, in my opinion. I like the glow and the style. Opted for a kind of a purple edit, more purple than I would usually do, but I think it worked for this scene. Editing consistency was a bit of a problem in this shoot, probably because I'm not used to editing Promist photos, so all of my usual tricks don't work immediately. So some of these edits are a little bit all over the place. In fact, I might change them in a month or two, but I didn't want to delay this video for that long. In this spot, again, we have the same neon restaurant as in the earlier photos, but from a different angle. I thought the green light was a pretty cool background, so I waited for a foreground subject. I actually didn't take a photo of that guy. I didn't like the way that it looks. To be honest, I would prefer a silhouette, but the lighting did not allow it. So I decided to wait a little bit for a subject. And we see one subject coming with an umbrella on the right side of the frame here. Right there, I actually pre-focused, so I don't have to rely on the autofocus, and then I took the shot. So I pre-focused on the ground. And the shot is okay, but I would really prefer a silhouette. You can see me reviewing the photos a lot in this shoot. That's the one thing I like about digital photography. You can actually do that unlike film, and then make some little notes and adjustments on the fly. The next photo there, I quite like. The Promist is working fairly well. Then here we see a theme, unfortunately, in the current times, just capturing reality. Here's a photo of a puddle. I think of these kind of shots as kind of a B-roll shots, but for photography. It's sometimes good to remind yourself to take these kind of photos as well, because then you can tell a more well-rounded story of the entire environment. So I like to remind myself to take photos of small details like this as well, and not only the so-called main street photos. And that's a pretty funny angle. I wanted to put this guy in the middle of the street, but through the live view it didn't look good. So I simply didn't press the shutter at that time. I took a photo slightly later. The colors are very colorful. Don't know if I like the shot though. I kind of like the detail of the broken taxi sign of this beaten tuk-tuk truck, although it's not nice for the owner, but it adds some character to the shot anyways. Shooting some video B-roll here, something that I should do more, but I simply forgot. This is literally the only clip that I shot. So I didn't include every photo, including this one, because it just didn't look good. The background photo there looks much better, but then I followed this lady down the alley, which sounds wrong, but these coming shots I quite like. The Promist filter is making it look really dreamy. It's really glowing a lot, so I like the feeling of the shots here. I guess one thing I want to point out is that because the GoPro is a very wide angle lens, it looks like I'm further away from the subjects that I actually am. Remember, I'm shooting 50mm focal length or 55, which is pretty much exactly what the eyes would see if you close one eye. So in reality, I'm a little bit closer than it looks a lot of the time. Starting to get real quiet at this point. It's about 10-15 minutes until closing time. The curfew is coming, so I'm just capturing some of the lights. Looks like the heavy rain is going to hit after the curfew time, and it's going to rain hard the entire night. But on the other hand, I don't really mind. When the rain gets heavy, it floods the streets very easily and it gets quite unpleasant. So even though I love shooting in the rain, I'm not going to complain too much. If you're wondering about my settings, all I'm doing is basically optimizing my shutter speed to the scene. If there's no movement, I'll drop it in order to get the ideal ISO. Most of the adjustments there are simply just changing the focus point actually. I'm keeping my ISO on auto and my f-stop at f1.8. Food stalls always make for kind of interesting subjects because of the combination of interesting lighting and some smoke. By the way, if you want to see any of these editing processes broken down in a future video, let me know. In a comment, you can timestamp the picture. It's kind of easy content for me to make, so if there's a demand for it, I'm open to making some more Lightroom videos. Here's a cool alley, and you see that I'm not entirely just stalking the guy. I'm waiting for the moment. I'm playing with my umbrella to make it seem more casual, but I'm always paying attention, of course, and then trying to pick the best moment of at least something interesting. Arguably, that wasn't the best moment, but that is the logic. Because otherwise, I would be basically stalking the guy, and those are the kind of things that over time, if you do them too much, will get you in trouble in street photography, so you want to, be mindful of that kind of stuff. I like the color of this stall, and I also took a photo of this a couple months ago with the X-Pan. Arguably a much nicer photo with much nicer conditions. If you haven't seen that video, you might want to check it out if you like these kind of videos. I think it was better in many ways than this shoot, to be honest. And at this point, people are starting to pack up their stores and get ready to head home. The official curfew is 9 p.m, but the official closing time is 8 p.m, so it gives people time to get home. So one last shot of this guy with a massive umbrella. It kind of reminds me of a miniature Maiko. And that was pretty much it for this shoot. So yeah, those are the shots from that day. What do you think of the effect? For me, it's kind of growing on me. I still want to try it with film photography. I think combining this effect with the actual film photos could look good. I've yet to try it, so that's something I'm gonna do in the future. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and like I said, if you want to see any of the edits broken down in a future video, let me know by time stamping the photo, or if not, then that's fine too. Editing videos are easy to make, especially when it's, you know, kind of a lockdown situation going, so it's easy content, but at the same time I also don't want to become an exclusively like a Lightroom channel or anything like that. I want to make all kinds of photography videos, so I'm trying not to do too many of those, at least in one bunch. So anyway, yeah, please leave me a like, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.